There's Montreal Alouettes quarterback Johnny Manziel. He's had 5 CFL starts, thrown for 872 yards. His most productive start was 2 weeks ago against Calgary. Continuing to learn the game, as is this man. James Franklin will make his second straight start for the Argonauts since coming off the bench for Toronto in BC a couple of weeks ago. It is another doubleheader Saturday here in the CFL on TSN to wrap up week 19 of 21. Welcome, Rod Smith, Davis Sanchez, Matt Dunnigan, Jim Barker back for this one as well later on at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Top 2 in the West, Stampeders and Riders meet. But first up, the Argos and the Owls, 2 teams that will not make the playoffs this year, but they both feel they have something to play for. What's important when clubs are in a situation like this?
Well, these guys are playing for next year, and in particular, some of these young guys. I watched a preseason game this year, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Brandon Burks, he made a run, a jump cut, and I saw something in this kid. I said, this kid is special. And there's a bunch of other guys on this roster, young guys that want to make an impression for next year. We joked and disagreed about the veterans. If I'm a vet, I just want to get out of there.
Man, I don't see it that way, Davis.
Yep.
And I'm glad you asked that question, Rod, and posed it, because I don't care if it's preseason, regular season, postseason, if we're playing a pickup game in a parking lot. Games mean something. When you go out there, you sign on the dotted line, you play for 18, you go out there and leave it on the football field. That was my mentality. Every play is your last. That's what I'm asking from my guys, because they're playing for jobs, and now that they're playing for jobs, I'm trying to keep mine as a coach. I'm trying to keep mine as a general manager. I'm trying to keep mine as a, and so nothing's different for me. I'm playing the same,
You're right.
Jim.
And this is a huge game, I believe, for Montreal. Not because they're going to go to the playoffs, but this team hasn't been in the playoffs in 4 years. Mike Sherman has now had a season to learn the league.
Yeah.
He's coming off a bye week. I want to see schematically, are there any changes? What does he bring into the table? Yeah, Johnny's growth is important. Johnny's growth is
Everybody's
crucial.
growth is
But is Mike Sherman the right guy to lead them forward moving into next year? Because to go 5 years in a 9-team league and not make the playoffs, that's tough. Big game.
And the kickoff is coming up at BMO Field, the Argos and the Alouettes.
Playing the same way.
Johnny Manziel seems to be improving with each and every start.
It's a razzle-dazzle. Manziel throwing. This is going to work out. It's a touchdown.
Now it's time to get a victory, Johnny Football.
Big toss here. Jump ball. Oh, what a catch. Jackson juggles it and comes up with it. Ernest Jackson, circus catch.
I guess the old saying is close but no cigar. Close doesn't count on the win and loss column.
Donna Crow of Calgary, you could win groceries for a year if a kickoff is returned for a touchdown in this game, thanks to Safeway Sobeys' $1 million touchdown to win promotion. And if a second kickoff is returned all the way in this one, you could also win $1 million. Good luck, Donna. Off we go to BMO. Rod Black and Dwayne Ford.
All right, thank you, Rod. Hello, Canada. Just off the lake. Actually, pretty pleasant day here at BMO Field in Toronto. 12 degrees Celsius. The wind not too bad today, but 2 teams that haven't been so good all season. 2 3-12s, and yes, you always have something to play for.
Well, they certainly do, and we've got 2 young quarterbacks, each looking to establish himself here down the stretch. Hoping to come into next season as a starter. James Franklin passed for 292 yards in the Argonauts last outing. The loss against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Johnny Manziel still looking for his first victory in the Canadian Football League. But a season-high 250 yards through the air for him in a loss to the Calgary Stampeders, his most recent game.
Mike Sherman, his Montreal Alouettes, one of their wins came at the hands of the Argos, former NFL head coach like Mark Trestman, who used to coach the Alouettes and won 2 Grey Cups, and last year won the Grey Cup with the Toronto Argonauts in a dream season. Not so much this year. 2 teams that have been left in the dust in the East, but are playing for pride, playing for themselves, and playing for some fantasy points today as well. Hey, we've always got fantasy.
Well, and there's no doubt in my mind, Johnny Manziel is a guy playing for pride in these final few weeks of the Canadian Football League season. As you saw, this is a guy, no wins, 5 losses as a Canadian Football League starter. We've talked about how the most important thing for him as he plays this year is to improve. It's not necessarily about wins and losses, but you know that for him, he absolutely wants to put a couple of W's on the board.
It's been getting better every week for Manziel. He went through his reads and then went over the middle. Couple of yards on this one. It hasn't been easy for Johnny Manziel as he finds George Johnson, who played his college ball down the 401 at Western. As a basketball player, Manziel goes second down.
And looking at the rest of this Montreal offense, keep an eye on Ernest Jackson. He had a season-high 6 catches in that Calgary game. Along the offensive line, Tony Washington returns at left tackle.
Down the sideline, there's Ernest Jackson. One of his greatest moments came on this field as a member of the Ottawa Red Blacks a couple of seasons ago.
Yes, sir. Grey Cup winning touchdown for Ernest Jackson in overtime. I forget who threw the pass. It's not really important.
He's not working today. He's watching, though.
Right.
He's watching. Henry Burris, of course. First down and back in the backfield is William Stanback. Couple yards, setting up a throwing down again for Argo defense that doesn't resemble at all that Grey Cup winning D, does it?
No, they get one familiar face back on that defensive line. Defensive tackle Dylan Wynn. Justin Tuggle is at middle linebacker as Bear Woods continues to be out of the lineup. He started on the weak side in that championship run last year. Ronnie Yell, the most experienced member of the secondary, the former BC Lion, moving from corner to halfback this season with the Argos.
Manziel with time, has his man, jump ball for Jackson. Can't come up with it. That'll bring up the kick team. Tremaine Washington one-on-one coverage as Johnny Manziel had a lot of steamboats there. Couldn't lay it into Jackson.
Yeah, and you know, this is a throw that may have a little bit to do with Manziel still getting a feel for the time and space on the bigger, wider Canadian field. The time it took for that ball to get there is what allowed Washington to close and make a play.
Duron Carter is back to return the kick from Boris Beattie. Duron Carter, the former Alouette, who returned a couple of kicks for touchdowns as a member of the Owls. So James Franklin, who used to play against Johnny Manziel in college. Franklin makes his second start after being on the bench for a few games. Looking for another W here today in Toronto. Saturday afternoon football on TSN continues. The CFL on TSN is brought to you by the Nissan Titan, official vehicle of the Canadian Football League. Wind our way into week 19, the season winding down here at BMO Field. James Franklin, the 27-year-old former Edmonton Eskimo, first season with the Argos, former quarterback at Mizzou. Back at the helm here, pocket closes, and his first touch is a sack by the veteran Chip Cox. That did not go well.
Well, a couple of the Canadian Football League's elder statesmen closed in on this one. John Bowman and Chip Cox coming from the left side of your screen. Cox on the blitz is the free man. The straight run to the quarterback.
Chip Cox's 965th career tackle. It's number 4 all time. Now Franklin humming. Armani Edwards takes off and is caught from behind, but what a throw from James Franklin. And Armani Edwards almost found daylight. Post to post, almost coast to coast, 69 yards down near the 20-yard line.
Well, Franklin given time to set up and throw. Armani Edwards working out of the slot. He's going to take the seam right down the middle of the field. And Franklin drops it in there perfectly.
Franklin, play action, wings it out to the far side. First catch of the game for S.J. Green, moving closer to a 6th 1,000-yard season for the dependable, the durable, and sometimes incredible S.J. Green.
Yeah, he remains one of the great comeback stories in the Canadian Football League, now in his second year with Toronto, coming off that serious knee injury suffered as a Montreal Alouette. Great mentor to some of the young receivers in this lineup.
Breast Cancer Month, of course. All the awareness around women's cancers. The Argos spatted up in pink for this game. 2nd and 4. Here comes that blitz again. Franklin goes end zone. And there is a penalty flag. This is going to go down to the 1-yard line. Interference in goal. So now the Argos will be on the threshold of a touchdown.
Defensive pass interference. Montreal, number 24. Ball will be placed on the 1-yard line. First down.
Dave Foxcroft is our head referee today. TJ Heath in coverage.
Yeah, Heath matched up against his former teammate, Armandi Edwards. Edwards is going to work towards that far back corner as Franklin gets on the move.
Look at this. I formation, quad I. Likely James Franklin's going to take this, though. 12 touchdowns this season, and he's going to get a redo as well because the Alouettes jumped on the I formation.
I think you missed an I.
I. We've seen this before. James Franklin has 12 rushing touchdowns this season. Mike Riley last night had 1, so that's 13 for him. Moving closer
Offside.
to the record.
Montreal, number 97. Remains first down.
By a guy you know well, Doug Flutie, who did it back in 1991. 14 touchdowns as a quarterback with the BC Lions. That's the CFL record.
And I will say Flutie did it in the days before certain quarterbacks specializing in the sneak.
Looking for number 13 is Franklin. He has it easy, walks into the end zone. James Franklin. Lucky 13, and may not be done yet today. One off the all-time CFL record, and the Argos get sacked out of the chute. Franklin goes bombing. Penalty sets it up at the 1 and takes it in himself.
Here's a great look from our cable cam. You're going to see Franklin take it off tackle rather than right up the middle with that sneak. He's going to find a soft spot in there. Terrific block by Dylan Wynn on the edge. Driving things back.
Here's the newcomer, his second game, Drew Brown, who was perfect last week in the loss against Hamilton. His converts and his field goals. James Franklin, by the way, had 15 touchdowns rushing back in college with Missouri. Got 13 now as an Argo, and all of them have been sneaks from the 1. 7-zip Argos early. The legend Anthony Calvillo, all-time passing leader. He's a Montreal Alouette, now quarterback coach here in Toronto.
Well, keep an eye on the left side. Declan Cross is over there. Dylan Wynn's over there.
Good job affecting the low defender, Duran.
Terrific push right at the point of attack.
91 came hard.
One of the reasons the Argos 3-12 this year, of course. No Ricky Ray, gone for the season with a neck injury, and so it's been up to James Franklin. Give Jermaine a shout out there.
Well, James, can you imagine if Jermaine Franklin was
quarterback? He could be. James Franklin, McLeod Bethel Thompson, and having Anthony Calvillo around is incredible.
You're able to hit jump.
That's
Good job finding. He was tugging him.
hard to imagine a better resource for a group of young quarterbacks.
See safety here and that ball coming down. 23 didn't add in.
Ricky Ray hanging around, whispering in your ear too. Here's a reverse. TJ Graham, former NFLer, romps for a couple yards.
Oh, this is a terrific defensive play in space. Keep an eye on the D end. who's going to fight off his block. It's Frank Beltre. William Stanback is on him, but fights to get outside, contains it, turns it back in, sheds the block and makes the play. That's with a whole lot of field to defend.
Alouette team that's dead last in the league. Second down conversions. And holding teams off on second down. Manziel firing. There's a first down and successful conversion to a Darius Bowman, or Eskimo and Winnipeg Blue Bomber. And Johnny Manziel almost had his first win a couple of weeks ago against the Calgary Stampeders. Gave them a scare.
Yeah, Manziel turning in his best game to date. Outside of an early interception, from which I think he learned, trying to force a play. Made a couple of big throws in that one, as we mentioned earlier. Season high, 250 passing yards in that ball game. But the most important thing to me in terms of taking a step forward for Johnny Manziel was he did a pretty good job taking care of the football.
Heisman Trophy winner. He signed in late May in Hamilton. Only played in the preseason as Sean Jamieson goes down. There's some adjustments to that O-line, but signed in Hamilton down the road. Didn't play a down in the regular season. And then, of course, traded to the Alouettes and is 0-5 looking for win number 1.
Okay, you look at how the numbers have evolved from those first 3 starts versus his last 2.
Pulls it back. Again, a little sidearm toss to Eugene Lewis. Another guy who's proficient with the basketball like George Johnson. Played some summer ball. His dad, a basketball legend, Gino Lewis.
A little play action using William Stanback. Stanback, of course, having taken over as the starting running back. Terrell Sutton now running wild with those BC Lions.
This is an Alouette team. You've had to look at the rosters every week as Manziel sprints out, and Johnny Manziel has one of his best runs. Down near the 32-yard line for Manziel, who averages 6.6 yards a carry, 22 yards, with help from Tony Washington.
Well, Ty Rogers has switched over to that left tackle position. Kind of did his best human bulldozer here, leading the way.
On first down, Stanback, who's taken over since Terrell Sutton was traded. In fact, got a lot of touches when Sutton was injured, but Terrell Sutton and the BC Lions, how about what they're doing on the West Coast? Which I know doesn't surprise you too much.
Yeah, I have a lot of belief in the combination of Wally Bono and Ed Hervey. I think those guys have certainly found their way late in the season. It's not the first time for either one of them.
And a guy named Travis Lule as well. A win last night over the Edmonton Eskimos, clinching a playoff spot. Manziel backpedals and tosses it off, and fighting for a first down near the 20-yard line again is TJ Graham. Looks like the Alouettes will be able to scrimmage 1st and 10 from that 20-yard line where the red zone begins.
Well, the Alouettes do a nice job getting William Stanback out of the backfield. He goes to the flat, and what that's going to do is open up some space in behind him for TJ Graham coming from the other side. He's going to get a pull that opens up the middle as he takes a defender with him. Now all kinds of room underneath to get the completion to Graham for the first down.
Manziel hangs in. It goes end zone for Bowman. Incomplete. You could hear them yelling for PI, pass interference, but there is no flag. Scrapping down in that end zone on a corner route.
At first glance, this one looks to me almost like a Darius Bowman recognizes he's going to have a hard time getting to this football, that he almost becomes a defender and is trying to impede the man covering him from catching the ball. Darius Bowman right at the bottom of your screen.
Second down for Manziel. And the Alouettes, 6-receiver set. Goes over the top for Lewis again. Fumbled the football. And Stanback was able to get it back. Had Lewis been able to hang on, his progress was close to the first down marker, but the fumble brings it back. And it looks like they're going to have to bring out Boris Beatty and take the 3 points here.
Yeah, Lewis climbs the ladder to bring this one down. 3 Argos converging. It was the hit from linebacker Akeem Jordan that sprung that football.
So now Bo Beatty flicking at 87% this season. Short one here, 24-yarder. Easily through. Alouettes are on the board and down 4. Manziel can't get the Alouettes to the end zone, but Beatty puts it through the uprights. Solomon Jr. Green, perennial all-star, perennial 1,000-yard receiver. Close to that again today. S.J. Green and the Argos football next. Shaw Road to the Grey Cup continues tonight. Stamps with another chance to clinch first against Zach and the Rough Riders. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Action gets underway later tonight after this one. Doubleheader Saturday. Eventful doubleheader last night. Ottawa Red Blacks beating Hamilton. Franklin again goes hurling it downfield for S.J. Green on a post that is overthrown.
Well, taking a look at the Toronto Argonaut offense. Here Davis Sanchez talk about Brandon Burks getting an opportunity to play running back. Here he's brought a little bit of burst, some explosion to that backfield in the last couple of games along the offensive line. Ryan Bauman and Chris Van Zyl manning the right side, a couple of guys who started their CFL careers with the Montreal Alouettes.
Second down and 10. Argos with a 4-point lead early on here. These 2 bottom feeders in the east, and that is picked off. TJ Heath, the former Toronto Argo, comes up with the interception for the Alouettes. First turnover of the ball game from the arm of James Franklin. Former teammate has it in his grasp.
TJ Heath comes up with the interception, working against Armani Edwards. A little bit of contact may have affected the timing on this play. Edwards is going to come out of the slot. Heath, the man in coverage. You'll see just as Edwards makes his break, Heath gets hands on, and that throws the receiver a little bit off balance. Allows TJ Heath to close a little bit on that break, and as the ball is en route, takes advantage of that tight spacing, tight coverage. Get the pick and set the Alouettes up in Argo territory.
It's the 3rd pick of the season for TJ Heath. 2 previous came as an Argo before he was traded to Montreal for Ryan Bauman. His first pick is an Alouette. Instant field position. An Argo team that's last in turnover ratio in the CFL gives one up, and they give up a lot of points too. Manziel dodges potential sack. Got it to the line of scrimmage. Lawrence Pittman out of the backfield. Will work with William Stanback.
Pittman to the right of Johnny Manziel. Getting both backs out. She mentioned the 2 Americans. Argos just sitting back, waiting to come up and make the play on that one.
3.5 to go in this opening quarter. Almost a loss of a half yard. Manziel sets up the screen, but it's going nowhere. Pittman swallowed up just past the line of scrimmage. And Boris Beatty time again. This time he'll be punting.
Keep an eye on the middle linebacker, Justin Tuggle, number 24. He's spying the back Pittman from across the line of scrimmage. And the second he saw him set up in that screen position before the ball was even thrown, Tuggle was coming downhill to make the play.
So nothing really lost by the Argos on that turnover. They don't give up points here unless Beattie puts one into the end zone. He's very good at angling the kick. This is going to bounce near the 15. Teron Carter watches it bounce back to the 7. And it's going to be a long field for James Franklin once more. 2.5 minutes to go in this first quarter in Toronto.
Make your getaway with intelligent all-wheel drive in the 2018 Nissan Qashqai.
So no harm, no foul for that turnover by James Franklin, but again, a long field for the Argos. Game that doesn't carry a lot of meaning, obviously, to the postseason for either team, but
carries none, Rod.
You still don't want to be the last place team. There's 3 weeks left. The crazy thing about these two teams is they could figure in prominently in the final weekend, depending on what happens next weekend down the QEW between Hamilton and Ottawa.
Yeah, and we'll continue that conversation in a minute. Just a quick look at this Montreal defense. Ryan Brown has been a nice find on the defensive line. 4 sacks in 10 games for him from his defensive tackle spot. Enoch Mwamba continues to produce, the first overall pick back in 2011. Coming home to play in front of friends and family today. Gregory, newcomer in the secondary, takes over at halfback for an injured Dominique Ellis.
Franklin. Oh, what a catch by S.J. Green again. Becomes redundant after a while. He just has done that ever since he came into the Canadian Football League. And in traffic, there might not be anybody better in the league.
Well, you think about the hit S.J. Green took a couple of weeks ago that led to him undergoing concussion protocol. But he was right back at work last week, again this week, going across the middle, fearlessly going up to make that catch, knowing that the big collision is coming.
Cluster formation and another outstanding grab from S.J. Of course, used to do that a lot, catching footballs from a guy who's wearing a headset down on the Argos sideline now.
Yeah, Anthony Calvillo, longtime Montreal Alouette quarterback.
S.J. was 1,000-yard guy in Montreal, and champion there, champion in Toronto, of course. Franklin has some time, buys it, gets a jolt on second down. And there was a flag on the near side of the field near the Montreal sideline. Might have been there some contact. Mike Sherman waits.
No flag on the play.
Looks like there is no flag.
There is no flag on the play. The result is a third down.
Well, there was a flag, but it's not a flag. Yes.
Upon further review, no infraction.
Argos kick team. Zach Medeiros handles the punting. Argos have gone through their share of kickers as well. Last year, Liram Harilahu, now with the Tiger Cats, was the kicker and punter. This is a boomer from Medeiros. Again, a flag flies. Steph Logan tries to fly down the sideline. Somebody might have been downfield a little too quickly. One play to go here before the end of the first.
Where's it going?
Holding. Montreal, number 11. It's a 10-yard penalty. First down, Montreal.
Oh, back-to-back long fields to start possessions for these two young quarterbacks. The Alouettes will take over inside their own 15-yard line.
Veteran Chip Cox. Another one of those longtime holdovers from the championship teams in Montreal. Another durable guy. There goes Williams. Stand back, big run. He rumbles down the far sideline in a foot race, and stand back almost went the distance for his first CFL touchdown, but he will be brought down near the 25-yard line. 72-yard pickup. Alden Darby had to catch up to William Stanback. His best run in the CFL. Almost put 6 on the board. End of the first quarter. 7-3 Toronto in the 6. Well, some pretty good back and forth between two teams, again playing for next year. There's some jobs on the line, but the Argos lead the way 7-3, and the Alouettes threatening now early in the second quarter as the teams change sides, and Montreal almost immediately to the red zone because William Stanback almost went the distance to the end zone.
Yeah, well, you look at the rushing yards, the impact of that big run at the end. 105 now for Montreal versus just 8 for the Toronto Argonauts. You've got a couple of younger quarterbacks playing in this game. You think you want to establish that run game, take some pressure off your quarterback, open up some opportunities for play action passes to help out your protection. And Montreal kind of striking the first blow in that regard.
Longest Alouette run of the year. Mansell, though, has to run for cover as he is sacked. An easy sack for the Argos. They had the pressure. Mansell tried to turn out of the pressure and spun into the turf. Dylan Wynn was there. Cleon Lang was there.
Yeah, the ends, Beltre and Cam Walker getting a chance in that D-line rotation as well. But the important thing, Lyndon Gaydosh in on the play, you see the push coming from all across that defensive line to engulf him like a net. Mansell looked to spin out, try to escape, but they had good push upfield from their defensive ends to contain him in the pocket.
Now Mansell decides to run himself, and he has to slide. Otherwise, he would have been leveled by 4 Argos. And once again, an Alouette drive will stall. Inability to finish drives. In the story for both teams this season. Not able to score a lot of points. The Alouettes don't put up many. Last in the CFL, 16.9 points a game. They give up 30 points. This has been the story.
This has been the story for the Montreal Alouettes offensively over the last few seasons, really since the retirement of Anthony Calvillo. And they've been looking for the next guy and certainly hoping Johnny Mansell can develop into that franchise quarterback.
Boris Beatty puts 3 more on the board, makes it a 1-point game. Well, every week the mics are up, the sound is up on CFL Wired.
That cartwheel was trash. No, I was going for it. I lost energy halfway through.
CFL Wired Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. Could you do a cartwheel?
I could do a cartwheel, maybe about as well as Jake Seresma.
I think he was practicing it during the week, but without padding on.
You know, there's so many sports where they compete in weight classes. I think I'd like to see gymnastics as one of them.
Franklin dishing it off to Levi Noel. Noel bashes his way up near the 50. 15-yard pickup. Argos move the sticks.
Well, finishing with a big collision.
Don't let it be said that they're not playing for anything down there.
Amen
It's still
to that.
football. Playing hard. Still 2 weeks after this to go. Chance to be spoilers on both sides. And there's the first touch of the game from former NFLer Dexter McCluster. Had a couple of games where he got in. He's seen a lot of action, played against the Stamps and the Lions, but this is a former Pro Bowler.
Yeah, smaller back, a guy well known as a returner. You get an indication as the Argos try to get him the ball in space.
Little counter play, they give it to Armani Edwards. Another college star who starred as a quarterback, of course. Appalachian State. Made the transition to receiver. Argos just one of the many guys. It's been tough for Danny Webb this year, the equipment manager, don't you think? He might be the MVP. Trying to suit everybody up.
That's right.
All the sweatsuits for all the injured players. Quick hitter, Miles White.
And if not for an injury, of course, to Alouettes corner Mitchell White, has been out for much of the second half of the season. We could have seen a little bit of
twins,
brother versus brother, twin versus twin battle. Today, Miles, the twin brother of veteran CFLer Mitchell White. I saw Mitchell up here in the press box before the game. He said it's probably just as well that they don't play against each other in this one. He didn't want to ruin his twin brother's Christmas, he says.
We wish Mitch White the best. This recovery, Franklin down the rail. Looking for Jerron Carter. Penalty flags were flying in the backfield.
Yeah, flags thrown as soon as the hit was made. Jermaine Robinson came on the
Major
blitz,
foul,
came in high.
roughing the passer. Montreal, number 29. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Watch. Robinson is going to try and time this up, coming from depth. He ends up as the unblocked man. McCluster was locked in on the right side of that defense.
One stat that has been trending poorly for the Alouettes. They're last in the CFL in penalties. Today they have 42 penalty yards. The Argos have not been penalized yet. Franklin stands in the pocket and he can't escape. And once again, it's Chip Cox, who's already got a pair of sacks in this game. Not normally the sack master. That's 4 on the season now for Chip Cox.
And Chip Cox is right there at the very right side of your screen. Getting a little more involved in that blitz package. And, you know, that's the challenge for Dexter McCluster, a smaller back involved in protection. He's got to try and step up to the line, take that guy on closer to the line. A, so that Cox has less of a head of speed to knock him back, and B, so he's got some space before his quarterback.
They set up the screen for Declan Cross. He's ripped down to the turf. Enoch Mwamba in on that, as he has been almost all season on every tackle when it gets to the second level. So the drive will stall, and out will come Drew Brown. Former Nebraska Cornhusker. What a pipeline University of Nebraska has been to the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, a lot of great kickers over the years. Of course, most will remember Canadian kicker who played down there, Sandro DeAngelis. More recently, we talked about Brett Maher.
This from the 30, and Drew Brown, 2 games in as a CFLer, has been perfect so far. There's number 34. Swayze Waters used to wear 34. It's a popular number in Toronto these days, by the way. Drew wore that in college as well. Johnny Manziel brings his offense back. Had to run for his life at times this year, still looking for his first win north of the border. 10-6 game right now. The Alouettes trailing the Argos with more on the Montreal Alouettes. Let's go down to the sideline. And here's Matthew Shinetti. Matthew?
Rod and Dwayne, you were talking about the fact that this is the 4th season. The Montreal Alouettes are not going to make it into the playoffs. And it seems at this time of the season when I'm doing an Alouettes game, I'm always talking about what's next. What is going to be the thing that rejuvenates the culture of the Montreal Alouettes? Well, I was speaking to a few veterans before the game. And right now, apparently, General Manager Kavis Reed is kind of doing an internal assessment, asking guys what works and what does not work right now. The one thing that is becoming clear is discipline throughout the organization, not just with players, but with coaches, when it comes to practices, when it comes to personnel, when it comes to assignments. And then one particular veteran did go ahead and point out that sometimes what it has to be about is not only just players holding themselves accountable, but coaches being able to hold players accountable. Not every practice is great, not every play is great. Sometimes players need to know they're making mistakes so they can correct them. But the ultimate question to be asked is Johnny Manziel the quarterback of the future and the present for the Alouettes? One veteran I spoke to, that would be a Darius Bowman, said absolutely. Guys?
Johnny Manziel is the guy right now. Rolling quick, he has to throw, and coming back to the football, and should have been caught by Gino Lewis. Manziel on the roll, that's what he did so well down south in the NCAA and taking it to the National
Illegal
Football
contact,
League.
Toronto, number 36. 10-yard penalty, first down,
So he
Montreal.
gets a reprieve here. He'll move the sticks.
Well, take a look at the illegal contact call here. Little grab by Tremaine Washington as Ernest Jackson tried to make his break. Now, a lot of talk, there could be a trade if Kavis Reed's looking for veteran help. A lot of talk that Jim Barker is looking to deal Dunnigan and Sanchez out of the studio.
You're kidding. Are the contracts up? Is it a negotiation here? Well, one thing is Johnny Manziel is under contract for at least one more year.
It wasn't anything to think about for me. I didn't come up here with any hidden agenda to try and come up here for a year and then run away. You know, I've come up here with a goal of getting back one day, whenever that may be, and I know that may necessarily, you know, not be right away, and it may take longer. And you know, I'm gonna honor the year that I agreed to upon me signing my contract, and I feel like that's exactly the right thing to do.
Well, there has been so much hype. Second down run here surrounding Manziel. Now that you get later in the season, we've chatted about it so much. We've done several Johnny Manziel games. What is your assessment so far of where he is at? You knew it wasn't going to happen overnight, and overnight, by the way, is a long time.
Yes, and you know, I think you have to look at the big picture with Johnny Manziel. You have to look at where he was coming from. You're talking about a guy that hadn't played football, hadn't really played meaningful football in a couple of years, coming to a league in which he had never played, with different rules, different timing, different spacing, different offensive systems, different defenses you're facing, and so on. So there was going to be getting back used to playing football again. There was going to be getting used to the Canadian game.
Manziel comes back on the field now. Antonio Pipkin coming in for that third down play. Pipkin, by the way, had a few starts, got the win last time these two teams met over McLeod Bethel Thompson. Two different quarterbacks in that game.
Yeah, Pipkin collecting a couple of victories this season for the Alouettes.
A lot of upside there too, 40.
Yeah, intriguing athlete, strong arm guy, powerful runner from the quarterback position as well.
Division II quarterback out of Tiffin. Manziel hands it off, and there he goes again. William Stanback been running roughshod over the Argos so far here late in the afternoon in Toronto.
Well, again, the continued development of the offensive line and O-line in which the Alouettes have invested some high draft choices. And the production of William Stanback and that ground game. I mean, this is all part of, you know, sort of what has the potential to help Johnny Manziel become successful.
Mansell empties out the backfield and calls his own number. They're sliding once more, and there's a flag for, looked like maybe a late hit. There's also a flag earlier back at the 50-yard line. There was only one call there, Mansell's number.
Yeah, but they got two coming out the edge. I can't stop.
Referees conferring. There's Mark Trestman, last year's coach of the year. A dream year it was for Trestman and Jim Pop. The Argo organization finished 9-9, went to the Grey Cup in Ottawa. Shot the Calgary Stampeders.
Montreal, number 67. It's a 10-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
So it was a hold, not a late hit. There's Tony Washington. There seems to be some shuffling going on in that Montreal line again. The Alouettes certainly aren't standing pat late in the season. Kavis Reed's been a busy cat. He's been trading some bodies.
Yeah, a little bit of a fire sale to stockpile some draft picks, future resources, and so on. A couple of veterans, Patrick Lavoie, Phil Blake, moved to Saskatchewan. Josh Stanford, young receiver, and draft picks came the other way in that deal. You had the Chris Aki deal, Aki going down the road to Ottawa in exchange for a second-round pick.
1st and 20 out of field goal range. Here comes that blitz. And a ball that was juggled, and even had Stanback caught that, he likely was going to be thrown for a loss. So it's going to be second in an area code now for Johnny Manziel.
Well, Dylan Wynn burst through this defensive line in a hurry, placing Manziel under some duress before he released that ball.
One thing Johnny Manziel has learned coming to Canada, field's a lot wider, there is a lot more running room, but those D linemen are as fast as linebackers down south. And they have been feeding on Manziel. 19 sacks he's given up. Manziel throws into traffic. Ronnie Yell, blanket coverage on Eugene Lewis. Talk about a strike, and it was right at the first down marker, Dwayne.
A nice effort by Eugene Lewis working back to the football. You see the accuracy and the touch from Manziel on this ball. But the big thing is you watch Eugene Lewis at the end of this play, he's coming back towards the football, making sure that the defensive back doesn't have an opportunity to step between him and the ball to make a play.
Alouettes now 5 of 10 on second down, and William Stanback is having himself a game so far. Yes, he had that bobble drop catch a few moments ago, but he is tearing up this natural turf at BMO Field.
Yeah, Stanback over 100 yards already here in the first half, aided by a 71-yard run in the first quarter to get things going.
Another Division II player, played at Virginia Union, coming from Central Florida, and some issues in college. No issues north of the border right now. Manziel one way, and down he goes. Alouettes give up another sack here. And once again, a drive can only go this far, and Boris Beatty comes out to try to make it closer.
And I'm not convinced that this play was necessarily a called quarterback draw. It ended up looking that way. It appeared as Manziel didn't like what he saw from the patterns on either side. But it has been interesting to watch the Alouettes as they kind of build the playbook around their new quarterback, to see them with at least a couple of called quarterback runs in the opening half of this football game.
Each team has a pair of sacks in this one. Two teams that give up a lot and don't protect the quarterback very well. That is just wide. Beatty thought he made it. Teron Carter will use up a little bit of the clock. Winds down to 3:02. Boris Beatty thought that was good. All the Owls will get is a single point. 3-minute warning on the field. Boris Beatty can't believe it. No. Boris Beatty still thinks that that ball went inside that upright. He may have a point here, but he has a point, but he only gets the point, if you know what I mean. He gets the rouge. It's a single rouge to the Alouettes. So 3:02, they will run one play, and then guess what? The 3-minute warning. Brandon Burks. And now they will signal the benches. It is the 3-minute warning. 10-7 ball game. Battle of 3 and 12s here on TSN today.
Hello there. Back in the studio, getting set for halftime. We're going to talk about this game and where these organizations go from here next year to bounce back. Also, Stampeders Riders, part 2 of the doubleheader. Let's go back to Rod and Dwayne. Hello up there at BMO.
Rod looks like he's doing a game show. Hey? It's a game show in there at halftime. Boys standing by, getting ready for tonight, too. Game with serious Western implications to the playoff race. That side, Franklin incomplete to Armonte Edwards. Teams that are in serious improvement mode for next year, rebuild mode.
Yeah, and I think for both there's that combination of rebuild, maybe more reevaluate. You know, Toronto Argonauts dealt with a lot of injuries this year, but also, you know, some key personnel changes, some important players out that they struggled to replace.
Well, offensively and defensively, Logan scoops it. Steph Logan might get a room here. Look at this. Logan down the sideline and cutting back. And Steph Logan, one of the oldest players in the CFL, and on the sideline. Everybody's okay down there. Be careful down there. Steph Logan. Good return. Took out a few bodies down there. Good starting point for Manziel and company. Get into Canada's #1 drama, The Good Doctor, streaming Monday at 10, 8 Mountain on CTV. Could have used a good doctor down there.
This might have been the hit of the game. You know, this is why we put Shinetti on the sidelines and we stay up here.
Shinetti's been right in the middle of it a few times. We're going to have to get him some padding, like
get him some padded chucks.
Everything's good down there.
Yeah, just shake it off, Doc.
Dr. Eisner, the former dentist for the doctor, he was rewarded before the game, honored. Manziel goes deep, but it's into the wrong jersey. Marcus Roberson has it. And a pick as Johnny Manziel goes deep.
Receiver DB, this is a terrific catch by Roberson. Got the matchup on the outside. You're going to see him run stride for stride with the receiver. He's spying the quarterback, sees the ball thrown. He's watching the ball the entire way. Terrific over-the-shoulder catch.
Former Florida Gator, second interception of the season. Snuffs out that drive. Argos continue to lead by 3 with 1:45 before halftime. James Franklin just spikes the ball close to an intended target, though, so no grounding. Noel was in the area, but that play did not go the way the Argos wanted.
Yeah, you've always got an intended front side and backside on your route, but keep an eye on Brandon Burks, the running back. Sneaks out. Franklin's looking to the left, but he's got Burks wide open with a couple potential blockers in front of him on the other side of that.
It's like an injured Argo. Scott Shannon comes out, longtime trainer and therapist for the Argos.
That's starter at left tackle today, Isaiah Cage.
Newcomer to the Argos this season.
Started the last couple of games at that left tackle spot.
Argos did dress a couple of spare O-linemen, but also scratched 2 O-linemen.
As this will bring in Jamal Campbell, the York University product, on that O-line.
Limp to the sideline. Injuries probably hurt a lot more when you know you don't have a playoff spot in sight as well, and it sometimes can make for an awfully long winter. Just late in the season, especially if you're a playoff team. Think about Hamilton right now. Brandon Banks going down last night, and the concern around his situation.
Well, it is always for those playoff-bound teams about balance. Trying to balance being healthy going into the playoffs versus having everybody's timing down, everybody in sync, and so on. Do you rest guys or do you play them to the end?
Franklin again, and that was almost thrown right into the pause.
Yeah, Ryan Brown has been credited this season already with a couple of knockdowns. I think he much would have preferred to have his first interception over his third knockdown.
Has had a fumble recovery. His big mitts couldn't bring it in. Mississippi State star. Madero's good kick. Alouettes could get a chance here to get some good field position. It's up to Logan. No, he's tracked down and brought down. Matt Black was down there first. Then Jeff Knox Jr. finished him off at the 35-yard line.
Yeah, Jeff Knox Jr. brought in here to play the weak side linebacker position, as the linebacking core for the Argos has battled injuries all season long. But also a guy, as you just saw, who is a tremendous special teams player.
So Johnny Manziel and the Alouettes do have a chance here to the very least get this in field goal position, tie it up at the half. Haven't been able to find the end zone yet. Now Manziel steps up and finds the target, Toronto side of the field. And Ernest Jackson goes down. The Argos say it's a fumble, but the whistle had blown. It's a big completion. Alouettes are lining up quickly. They don't want the Argos to challenge this.
Keep an eye on the middle of the field. Watch how long Ernest Jackson, just hitting the middle of the field, is open for a long, long time on this play. It just, I think, took Manziel a little time to find the lane of vision.
Manziel, what he did so well as a college player, and sprint out toss to Lewis in a span of about 15 seconds. He's moved that team into field goal range. He could take a couple of shots here for the end zone. First and 10 from the Argos 32. Swinging it out once more to Ernest Jackson. Jackson. Seems to have been reignited in Montreal once Johnny Manziel came in as a starter. They seem to have a connection.
Yeah, I think a connection, an opportunity to have one quarterback really play an extended stretch of games and develop a little bit of chemistry with the receivers as well.
Key second down here. Manziel using up that clock too, has to be careful here. Sprinting out again and wide open on the far side is Jackson once more, and Ernest Jackson played his college ball not too far from here at the University of Buffalo.
Rochester, New York native, just across the lake. Former running back in high school. And of course, definitely carries some of that mentality with him as one of the more physical receivers in the Canadian Football League.
What a spectacular year. East Division most outstanding player with the Red Blacks. Signed a deal with Montreal and hasn't found that sweet spot yet. Now the clock ticking down to 21. Second down again. Manziel has a shot at the end zone here for sure. Who will be the guy that he goes to? Stand back right beside him. Jackson, Lewis, and Johnson on the near side. Manziel looking that way. Johnny Manziel, and it's a touchdown! Eugene Lewis.
A terrific drive put together by the Alouettes. Not a lot of time on the clock.
Lightning strike. Johnny Manziel threw an interception earlier, has his third touchdown pass in the Canadian Football League, this time to Gino Lewis.
Yeah, a little bit of a clutch performance here as the first half winds down. Manziel goes 5 for 5 on this drive and leading his team.
Let's go, man.
6 plays, 75 yards in just a minute 15 to take the lead.
First lead for them. Horace Beatty. 32-yard PAT. Suddenly a 14-10 lead. Eugene Lewis wants to keep that football. Former Oklahoma Sooner. Johnny Manziel. Back-to-back-to-back completions. Very poised in the pocket.
Yeah, getting some time, and as I suggested earlier, I think a little bit of that has to do with the threat posed by William Stanback in that backfield. He's done a nice job involving different receivers, but particularly those slots, Ernest Jackson and Eugene Lewis.
So the pendulum swings. Native of Norristown, Pennsylvania. The Montreal team that, again, only averages 17 points a game, already has 14 at the half. A lot of that engineered by Manziel on that drive. Final 7 seconds before halftime. Pooched kick. Out of bounds goes Declan Cross. Clock ticks to 1, so time for one play. Take a shot. 3 and 12, why not?
What have you got to lose?
Mark Trestman. Or do you play conservative and you get ready for the second half? He is using this as a platform for next year in many ways, too, though. Seeing what he wants to see, get ready for 2019. Well, they aren't taking a shot here. Might be a little hook and ladder if they want. Cluster out of bounds, that's it. That's the first half. Alouettes trailed most of that first half. Johnny Manziel initiates a drive. Couple of big passes to Ernest Jackson. Touchdown, Eugene Lewis. And the Owls trying to get win number 1 for Johnny Foot.
To you, what has to be points to grow on in the second half?
Just continue to trust it, trust the throws, trust the receivers and the O-line, and make some plays.
Listen, I know many would not want to, in your position, may not have wanted that short yardage record or the one you keep building. However, you have so much excitement and such a great bond with your guys. What does it mean as a group, that short yardage group, to have that many touchdowns?
That was huge. I know I get the credit for the record, but all the guys out there the whole year, they've made it really easy. So we've all gotten really close, and they really do feel like they're in the record books too, and they should be, because they're doing all the hard work. I'm just kind of just along for the ride, but it's pretty fun to get to go out there and experience that with them. And they did just an amazing job of really making me feel so good just about being on the team, and it was just a whole group effort. Thanks, James. Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
James feels like a 6'2" jockey. And they're riding those O-linemen. But think about it, 13 touchdowns, that's nothing to sneeze at. And he is now the all-time single-season Argo record holder for quarterbacks. And one away, along with Mike Riley, from the all-time record, as Will Likely picks his way up near the 30-yard line, and James Franklin will go to work again, down 4. You saw something there.
Oh, I did. Duron Carter.
He almost jumped out of the booth.
Duron Carter on that kickoff return just laid an absolutely massive block. Stepped up and dropped the shoulder on one of the Argo cover guys.
He is the ultimate Swiss Army knife, is he not? Can do everything, Duron Carter. Brandon Burks slices up near the 32-yard line. So let's see. We've seen Duron Carter, returner, DB, wide receiver, and now special teams blocker.
Yeah, you're going to see him come in towards joining in behind the wedge. And just caught Brandon Calver, Alouettes backup linebacker and special teamer. Dropped the shoulder on him.
Second down and 5 for Franklin. Such a unique style in the pocket, doesn't he? Just kind of stays back, stands tall.
Stands tall. Looks like there's sort of a pause in there as he takes the snap every time.
S.J. Green, been his M.O. since he started playing the game. What a great catch again by S.J. Green. Again, it becomes...
Yeah, you take it for granted.
He catches everything.
Kind of going against the grain, going against his own momentum to twist back and grab that one.
Green moving closer to another 1,000-yard season. Began the day 82 yards shy. Brandon Burks, again the guy who's had to carry the load with James Wilder Jr., last year's Rookie of the Year, out of the lineup. We kind of talked about the rebuild. It's more of a reload in Toronto. Again, a Grey Cup champion a year ago. Fame is fleeting, but injuries, the MASH unit has been so big in Toronto. Huge factor. Franklin again. A little crossing pattern for the guy with the perfect name, Declan Cross.
Terrific fullback starting from the right side of that formation. He's really been given an opportunity these last couple of years as a pass catcher from his fullback spot in Mark Trestman's offense.
Argos have been impressive coming out of the locker room. TJ Heath will go to the sideline.
Okay, here we go.
Numbers very similar between the two teams here today. Sacks and turnovers, and on the scoreboard. Teams with identical records coming in. Inside pitch. It didn't go very well for the Argos. Armani Edwards was read perfectly by the Alouettes. Well, not too many teams have this happen to them, but the Argos in a free fall after last year's Grey Cup.
Yeah, remarkable turnaround. winning percentage of the Mendoza line.
Lowest possibly ever. See what happens in the next couple of weeks. Has certainly changed the demeanor around Jim Pop, I'm sure. As S.J. Green. Jim Pop came here last year, the former Alouettes general manager and architect. And in 1 year, assembled a dream team, a dream season.
Yeah, and, you know, to be fair, you know, I honestly feel like expectations for the Argos may have been inflated this year by the Grey Cup victory and what was kind of a perfect storm. To me, the Argos last year became a little bit of a team of destiny, you know, where everything just kind of came together at the right time. The chemistry clicked, the group of guys on the field clicked as well. Obviously had some bounces in that Grey Cup game against Calgary that went their way.
Brandon Burks with a high hurdle and bounces forward. Nice play. Burks showed that hurdle in the preseason, remember. Went for a touchdown. It earned him a job with his team. He's been able to stick around all season.
Yeah, Brandon Burks has definitely shown that explosiveness, athleticism. Devon Campbell comes in low for the tackle, so Burks takes the high road.
Played in the National Football League with the Jets, played a game there. College ball in Troy. Second down. They'll get the first down, move the sticks.
Well, here's a flashback to Brandon Burks. The Argos' last outing against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. See 13 touches, 94 yards for him. And a guy who puts a little bit of pressure on the Argos, not necessarily to unseat the James Wilder Jr., but to carve out his own niche perhaps in that offense and get some snaps.
McCluster. Dexter McCluster in his third game in the Canadian Football League. Now with some serious cred coming north of the border. Big name. Maybe not the mania that surrounded Johnny Manziel, but this was a big-time player in college.
Yeah, a guy in college in the National Football League who had put together a pretty good resume for himself. You can see him in terms of his skill set as a smaller guy who can do some things with the football in the big field. Should be a good fit in a CFL offense.
I think with Kansas City, drafted by the Chiefs. Second round, and there he goes, down inside the 15-yard line.
You know, the challenge that has been shown even within this ball game for McCluster, particularly given his size, will be in pass protection. Such a big part of the job of running backs in the Canadian Football League. He's got to demonstrate that he can really step up and stick his nose in there to pick up the blitz.
Not a young guy, 30, 5'7", but guess what? That's kind of the age where a running back takes off in the Canadian Football League. 30-year-olds around the league seem to find their prime time. Brandon Burks, first down. Argos will go first and goal, and we might see James Franklin, as he gets closer to that goal line, call his own number again and tie Doug Flutie.
And I think the thing that stands out to me when I watch Brandon Burks is just his acceleration, not necessarily flat out speed, but how quickly he seems to, once he sees a hole, get up close to full speed.
Looks like Franklin's throwing this time though. First and goal, inside the 5-yard line. Pulls it back, Franklin, corner of the end zone. Duron Carter was way off the mark, sets up a second and goal. This is always the tough region, isn't it? Right around the 5-yard line. First play, if it goes astray.
Yeah, I mean, we talk all the time in the Canadian Football League with the big end zones about the fact that you've still got a lot of your playbook. You know, like it's not like a National Football League field where when you get in close with that 10-yard end zone, a lot of your plays, you know, things with deeper routes and so on, a lot of that is cut off. You've You've still got a lot of your playbook, but you don't have your whole playbook.
This is a long drive, 13 plays, trying to get a touchdown. Franklin floats it up, and Edwards can't get there. So it will be 3rd and goal from the 4. Is Mark Trestman contemplating going for it, or will he go for the points? It looks like he's taking the points. And it'll bring out Drew Brown once more for a chip shot.
Yep. Pressure here. Bo Banner got a hand up that may have impacted the trajectory of that football. And close but no cigar for Mark Trestman and the Alouettes. So that one sails just over the head of Monty Edwards.
7-minute drive, but only a field goal here for the newcomer, second game. His brother Chris played in the National Football League, the former Cornhusker. Drew Brown. Ever since he's come to Canada, he has not missed. Wearing Dwayne Ford's old number. Johnny Manziel looking for his first win in the Canadian Football League. Lots of football left. Midway through the 3rd already after a long drive by the Argos, and the Alouettes lead by 1. There's Drew Brown, young man, Nebraska Cornhusker in the Canadian Football League. He's playing
I can smell it.
with a future in mind, but also a friend in his heart. That's Sam Foltz, punter and a holder. Withdrew back in Nebraska a couple of years ago, and then tragedy struck.
Yeah, these two guys, along with Mike Sadler out of Michigan, traveling from a kicking camp in the state of Wisconsin, were involved in a traffic accident that claimed the life of Sam Foltz.
And also the Michigan State kicker, Mike Sadler. And so since that time, Drew Brown, when he was in Nebraska, was kicking for Foltz every moment, every memory. They were such good friends together. Must be so difficult for him. And now he's north of the border. He tried to make it in the NFL where his brother Chris was for 12 seasons. But he's here. And what we've seen so far, it's been impressive.
Only perfect.
Johnny Manziel. Pocket closes. Stand back. Tried to squeeze it. For a moment, it didn't look complete, but they're saying it is a turnover.
Well, in ruling it a turnover, it also creates that automatic review.
Not sure Stanback had this football.
Well, even the timing on this makes it questionable as to whether Stanback even had time to control the football.
Stanback saying, I didn't have the football.
The ruling on the field is an incomplete pass.
So the ruling is incomplete, so it's not going to be reviewed anyway. The Argos would have to challenge this, and I don't think there's enough evidence to challenge this. This looked like an incompletion. Very quick.
Yeah, I mean, again, looking at it in slow motion, that can be a little bit misleading. But it looked a little bit more like a completion there. The Argos were scrambling to throw their challenge flag before the ball was snapped.
And they are throwing the challenge flag. So Mark Trestman might be a bit of a risky one here, but you never know. The Argos not that successful on challenges this year, just 1 of 5. But this one could turn the tables here in the third quarter, where the Argos have owned time of possession.
Okay, so it's a catch and fumble. Yep. You turn around, made a football move. Yeah, we got it. Football move.
We will see.
The previous play was a catch followed by a fumble. We'll review the play.
All right, thank you, Dave Foxcroft. We'll send it to CFL Command. Could be a turning point here. We'll find out the verdict to come after our break. We have a decision from the court of CFL Command.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Incomplete pass.
So Mark Trestman, no luck with that challenge flag, does not have any challenges left.
And you heard some of the Argos sort of trying to make the case that he caught the ball and made a move, because you see stand back. The ball comes in and he turns. But I think almost the argument you can make in this case is that the ball didn't move. Stand back turn, but you know, he kind of slowed down the ball as he turned his body.
So Boris Beattie punting to the north end zone here at BMO Field towards the city. Angles it. Will Likely, the former Maryland Terp. Brandon Dozier downfield so quickly. One of their best special teamers and one of their best defensive players. 1-point ball game here. 6:23 to go in the third quarter. Alouettes leading by a single point. Shout out to one of the very best in our business, one of our teammates, Jim Flaxy Flaxman. Under the weather these days. We're all thinking about Flaxy. He's been doing that for years, carrying that camera around, and has been giving us some of the best shots over the last 4 decades. Flaxy thinking about you. Franklin for Declan Cross. (14-13) Alouettes here. Again, these two teams back at it next week. We talked earlier about how these two teams, who may not be thinking about the playoffs, have something to play for in the final week. We welcome our viewers on TSN1, Argos and Alouettes, two non-playoff bound teams. And this is picked, and this could go to the end zone, and it will. Tavon Campbell. Pick 6. He's already had a fumble return for a touchdown and a little chorus line. The band plays on. Tavon Campbell.
Well, this ball's just off the mark. Tavon Campbell, Canadian corner at the University of Regina.
Rugby player?
Yes, I thought he might put the ball down as soon as he crossed the line, like a rugby try. Spent a little bit of time in the national team program prior to rejoining the Owls this season. Speedster. Set the Canadian Football League combine record in the 40-yard dash.
Well, this game turns suddenly. The Argos have owned time of possession. Huge turnover here. Franklin right into the gloves of Tavon Campbell. Second touchdown of the season. First pick 6. Alouettes march in front. The former Regina Ram, Tavon Campbell. Dwayne said, playing with the national team, rugby sevens, takes it for 6. Alouettes surge in front, 21-13.
Yeah, Campbell's just off your screen to the right side. He's in coverage. Gerard Carter is the wide receiver to that side. As Carter makes his break to the inside, appears on the screen, Campbell makes the break as well. Ball's thrown a little bit behind the receiver, and just a great aggressive play by Campbell to come underneath, step in front. Pick off that football to extend the Alouette lead to 8. Here again, you'll see Carter at the bottom of the screen. As Carter's drifting away from the ball, Campbell's moving to it.
Well, a Montreal team that has been led for so many years by their defense. Igniting them again here in Toronto tonight. How many times ball hawks? You think about the corners, about the halfbacks, the safeties in Montreal through the last decade that have been able to do that. Tavon Campbell, the latest.
You talk about guys like Chip Cox and John Bowman, some links to Alouette defenses. of the past and past glory. Try to pass on some of those lessons to the young guys before they move on.
Hand off to Burks. Well, John Bowman says this could be his ride off into the sunset. I don't believe it. But if he is, I'll tell you what. You know where he's headed. You know where he's headed. Down the road in Hamilton.
Hall of
It's
Fame.
not to play for the Tiger Cats.
Yeah, not just a great football player, but a class act is number 7, John Bowman.
He's done some TV work in the Montreal area. He said he was going to retire a few times before, though. Franklin now goes over the top. And brought down rather quickly is Burks once more. Glenn Love. There it's Kai Bear's old number in Montreal. Glenn Love, the former Calgary Stampeder, Grey Cup champion back in 2014. Played with the Rough Riders last year.
Yeah, started his career with the BC Lions. Well-traveled. Another guy who's a terrific special teams player. Hasn't started a ton of games on defense, but as a designated import has made an impact on teams everywhere he's been.
It's John Bowman trying to push back James Franklin. They stacked it up, and Franklin got the first down, it looks like. Had to get to the 41. They'll move the sticks. 3:43. Is it my imagination, or does it seem that the Argos have had the football this entire quarter? Yet.
Little to show for it.
Just the field goal. Alouettes have only had the ball for 1:40. Franklin escapes, has running room, and James Franklin. Oh my. What a shot on Brandon Dozier. Good-naturedly, good sportsmanship, but you do not see that very often. James Franklin just dusted free safety Brandon Dozier, who, by the way, is one of the hardest hitters in the game.
Well, this is a great escape. First of all, from Franklin, a couple of D linemen had their hands on him. Big, strong quarterback. The arm tackles wouldn't bring him down, and then kind of dropped the shoulder on Dozier right at the end.
Franklin, a 22-yard scoot, and Dozier has a chuckle. If their records were 3-12, I don't think they'd be smiling at each other right now. TJ Heath.
Yeah, I think Heath got taken out by friendly fire on that play. One of his teammates in pursuit ran into him.
Great run by James Franklin again. All those quarterback sneaks this season have all been from 1 yard out. 13 touchdowns. Now he wants to go gunning. Delivers. Armani Edwards, another first down, down to the 34.
And a nice response here. James Franklin, the young quarterback, after throwing that pick 6. Bounce back on this possession. Armani Edwards, the outside receiver on this play, right down the hash mark. Zone coverage, so he sits it down instead of running into coverage.
2:25 to go, third quarter. Franklin looking for redemption.
Hang on to him. Hang on to him. He's down.
Behind Owell. Down by Dozier. Second and manageable. And Dozier, also a proficient special teams player with NC Charlotte. Handing it off to Burks. Cuts left side. Brandon Burks looking in zone. And he's brought down near the 10-yard line. Saw some daylight. There's a flag on the far side. Is this coming back? Looks like it is.
Holding Toronto, number 89. It's a 10-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
Well, Duron Carter flagged for that. Doesn't like that call. Erases a great run by Burks.
And keep an eye on Duron Carter. Blocking in space out at the far left. And this can be a tough one for receivers. You can't see the ball. You can't see the angle on which your guy is coming. Your ball carrier, all of a sudden, it's much like pass blocking. Your back is actually to the play while the defensive player can see it, and all of a sudden your angle changes.
2nd and 16. Franklin out of the pocket again, just dishes it out to McClusker. And he'll bring it down to the 30-yard line. It's a little more manageable field goal attempt now upcoming for Drew Brown once again with 1:20 to go, 3rd quarter. Already a 1-possession game would make it a little closer. Brown 4 for 4 so far in his very brief CFL career. This kick is up, and Drew Brown is perfect. Now 5 for 5. Long way to go to catch Lewis Ward. But Drew Brown right now has a streak of 5 made in a row. Well, NFL on TSN continues tomorrow. Special NFL London games matchup between the Titans and the Chargers. Action gets underway at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 a.m. Pacific from jolly old England on the CTV network. Titans and Chargers tomorrow. 21-16 the score, final minute, 3rd quarter. Manziel, everybody moving right this time. TJ Graham, there's another flag. So we'll see how the numbers bear out, but the Argos are not good trailing after 3 quarters, 3-9 on the season.
Which is actually a better percentage than their overall record. So maybe this isn't so bad.
Maybe you get a good point.
Holding Montreal, number 69. That penalty's accepted. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, 1st down.
When they lead after 3, they're 0-2. So maybe you're right. Maybe they're right.
Hey, we got them right where we want them.
Right where they want them. Both teams just 3 wins. The Argos have not won in 2 months. Montreal, late August. Argos have lost 7 in a row. Alouettes have lost 4 in a row. It's the Dust Bowl here in Toronto today. Manziel, low toss. Eugene Lewis. Got one more play in here on a 2nd down, barring penalty, for the end of the 3rd. Wayne talked about it at the beginning of the show, the 2 young quarterbacks. Great college pedigrees. Still learning the CFL game. A lot of drives just stalling. Manziel, Lewis right at the 1st down marker. Great route by Eugene Lewis, forming a nice connection with Johnny Football so far. That's the final play of the 3rd quarter. The clock hits zeros. The Alouettes have a rare lead heading to the 4th. 21-16, trying to get win number 1 for Johnny Manziel. Trying to get win number 4 on the season. Can the Argonauts end a 7-game losing slide? We'll find out when we come back to BMO Field. Five-point ball game after 3 quarters. 2 teams trying to make a deadlock, I guess, for last or 3rd in the CFL East. Playing it out for pride right now. Again, a game next week against each other, and then they play against the division leaders Ottawa and Hamilton, which could settle something in the late going as well. What about Johnny Manziel today? There's so much attention placed on this guy. He still hasn't got his first win yet, and it's still to be determined.
Well, looking at the time of possession in the third quarter, I kind of forgot Johnny Manziel was playing. The Alouettes had the ball for 2 minutes and 23 seconds of the entire quarter. Yet they've got that 5-point lead courtesy of Tevon Campbell in the pick six.
Tevon Campbell's pick six. Manziel threw a touchdown earlier. Good field position here to start the fourth. Runs it out, a hit screen to Ernest Jackson. Then gets pummeled. Jackson gets up, but Frank Beltre did the belting. Busy day for Ernest Jackson so far.
Yeah, one off his season high. He's got 5 catches at this point, 6 2 weeks ago against the Calgary Stampeders.
Second down and 11. A loss and 1 on the play, though. Manziel moves the pocket. And again, near that first down marker. They're going to be shy, though. TJ Graham. Looks like it's going to be a short third down play here. I think about the routes that the Alouettes are running now, and Johnny Manziel is getting more used to, is a lot of these routes are right at that first down marker.
Well, I think for so many players on the Alouettes, not just their quarterbacks. You know, I mean, yeah, Manziel's new to the Canadian Football League. Pipkin joined the team last year, just in his second year. But it's not just the quarterbacks, but there are a lot of young guys. You got to remember, BJ Cunningham has been out of that lineup for a bit.
Oh, trouble on third down, and the Alouettes give a gift back. Ronnie Yell, a bad exchange. And a third down turnover, and it's Toronto football on the Argo bounce. Pipkin on the back of a Darius Bowman. It looked like.
Just off the hip of Bowman as he took the ball, as Pipkin took the ball from his center.
We're running this left side, and a couple of sloppy turnovers here in the second half from both sides. That one gives the ball back to James Franklin. Chance for the Argos to get a lead here. At the very least, maybe a field goal attempt. McCluster bursts into the swarm there, picks up a couple yards.
A nice tackle in there once again by Enoch Mwamba.
Really having an all-star style season.
Well, he's been terrific. I'm sure he would gladly have a few less tackles to get that defense off the field a little quicker at times this season.
They have been on the field a lot, including in this second half. Franklin now, and oh, what a catch! No, it's incomplete. Duron Carter looked like he had the football, tried to sell it. We're used to seeing Duron Carter, particularly here in this stadium. He's made some incredible catches. Almost had this one. And a good play by Tommy Campbell.
Yeah, got the arm on him, on Carter at just the right time to disrupt that catching action. A nice adjustment to the football. Great tracking by Carter, but
so another turnover that results in no points unless this goes to the end zone. Medeiros, what a boot. This is high, towering kick. And a long field again. Johnny Manziel will bring it out. Loads of time left. 5-point advantage for the Alouettes. Some Alouettes fans here in Toronto. Next week, the Owls will host the Argos. back-to-back weeks. Inconsequential in the standings and inconsequential in the draft order as well. Sometimes you think about these teams that are the cellar dwellers or last in the division, kind of fighting it out, or sometimes even tanking it out for a #1 pick. That's not the case this year.
No, it's not. The Montreal Alouettes used their 2019 first-round pick to kind of get a head start on things, selecting Tyler Johnstone, offensive lineman out of the University of Oregon. Could be a ratio-changing tackle for them once they get his health situation in order, but they selected him in the supplemental draft this summer.
1st and 10.
So with the Alouettes having, I don't want to say giving up their first-round pick, because they used their first-round pick to get a good player and a guy who, quite frankly, would have been in the mix to be #1 overall had he been in the 2019 draft. So what that means is the Argos, regardless of how the standings wrap up, will own the first overall pick.
And there could be some serious meaning to the final week of the season suddenly. Should Hamilton beat Ottawa next week, retie the East, then these two teams will play against Hamilton and Ottawa that final week and could possibly spoil somebody's party.
Play into that playoff picture.
Manziel. This play isn't going to matter because there was a holding call. That afforded Johnny Manziel that little extra time. There's nobody home, was going through his reads. And there was a little grasp in the backfield.
Holding. Montreal number 67. That penalty will be declined. It will be 3rd down.
Keep an eye just on the left edge of your screen. Watch big number 67, Tony Washington out here. As Cam Walker got underneath him. Washington flagged for bringing him down.
Wind has died down here late in the afternoon. Sun setting now, lights on. Boris Beattie almost blocked and was bowled over, but no call. Short kick, no yards on the play. It's a 5-yard penalty. James Franklin gets an ideal starting position for Mark Trestman and the Argos as they try to fight back here and their 7-game losing slide. Well, under the heading, good coaches attract good coaches and good people attract good people. More on that story. Here's Matthew Shinetti.
Really is such a fraternity, Rod. Nick Nurse, the new head coach of the Toronto Raptors, and Mark Trestman. Now, when you talk about coaching in different sports, sometimes the languages might appear different, but coaching and mentorship and trying to improve not only players as athletes, but also as individuals is something that coaches can share. So what we saw over the last season, that Nick Nurse actually knew Mark Trestman, and Rod, as you told us, it was kind of you who went ahead and introduced the both of them, and we've seen a friendship develop, not only based on respect, but on how both men approach how they go ahead and mentor and teach their players. We heard Nick Nurse earlier this week on the TSN broadcast of the Cavs and Raptors season opener that he was talking about how Mark Trestman runs his offense. Trestman told us yesterday that he was quite impressed with how Nick Nurse runs his offense, and to the point that Nick Nurse was really kind of picking Trestman's brain on how he develops his players. Again, coaching is such a delicate, intricate art form. In order to build on those relationships with coaches, it's so key, guys.
Mark Trestman would love Kawhi Leonard on his team.
Yeah, he makes good coaches out of a lot of people.
Yes, he does. Nick Nurse, a terrific guy, great coach. Old Franklin, what a duck there. Now looks to Chuck instead. Tucks it, takes it. Near a 1st down. Nick Nurse and the Raptors tonight are in D.C. taking on the Washington Wizards. Tangerine Raptors basketball. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Raptors off to a 2-0 start. Speaking of Kawhi, he's not playing tonight. Kind of a management night off. There is the guru. Professor, guy who was in law school way back when. Like Nick Nurse, coaches are sports junkies. And Mark Trestman wanted to get into football, did. As a former player and the quarterback. 3rd and 1, and Franklin gets some help here as the Alouettes try to strip him, and he carries a pile, almost another 10 yards.
Well, we've seen when he can be a powerful runner when given the opportunity. Just ask Brandon Dozier. You know, and you heard James Franklin in that interview with Matthew Shinetti earlier talking about the sense of pride amongst that short yardage team, particularly when it comes to the touchdown record, but even out in the middle of the field, doing their thing to pick up first downs. Dylan Wynn, a part of that.
Bear Woods back there, they've missed him, and Marcus Ball and others. Jermaine Gabriel defensively, so banged up. Here's the blitz. Franklin spinning, and he is buried. Another sack here. Enoch Mwamba got to him.
Found a lower price on tires? We'll match it, guaranteed.
The two teams that have had issues protecting their quarterbacks, hence their records this season. Franklin could not see through the forest. A lot of big bodies. 3 Alouette sacks, 2 from Chip Cox, 1 from Enoch Mwamba. So the linebackers, 3 of them. Brandon Burks with a block. Trying to get up near the 25-yard line to move. The sticks will not. The best the Argos are going to get here is a field goal attempt again from Drew Brown.
Well, the Argos kind of chipping away, inching close, but never really able to close this gap here in the second half.
This game is kind of resembled a 2 3-12s. The second half a little bit. Both teams struggling to find that end zone. And again, Drew Brown puts it through. Nebraska Cornhusker fans following his exploits. His older brother, I'm sure as well, has to be proud of Drew Brown. It's now a 2-point ball game here in Toronto. Time now for our Shaw connection of the game. This one came early.
Yeah, Argos' second offensive play of the game after James Franklin had been sacked on the Argos on first down. He looks deep to Armani Edwards right down the pipe. Huge game that had the Argos on their way to the game's opening score. James Franklin to Armani Edwards. The Shaw connection of the game. Shaw super fan and proud sponsor of the CFL.
Good, man. Good promo voice for you.
Thank you.
Johnny Manziel is sacked. And both teams struggling offensively. Ronnie Yell. But there's a flag down near the Argos sideline. In fact, both sidelines. I wonder if the Argos' time of possession
Offside.
domination.
Toronto, number 90. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
In that third quarter, Alouettes offense hardly on the field, and they're ice cold.
Yeah, I mean, you can really get out of sync when you start feeling like you're in a little bit of a rhythm and so on. I mean, it's great. Heard it talked about in the BC game last night. It's great when the defense can score a touchdown. Travis Lulay talked about it at halftime. And the defense is making plays for you. But sometimes as an offense, it can mess your rhythm when you're not getting on the field much.
Well, they're using Lawrence Pittman as well now, the Alouettes, on that first down after that penalty. So it'll be second down and really a reset of the 5 yards. It's Kahari Jones, longtime quarterback in the Canadian Football League and an assistant coach with a variety of teams. Now the OC for the Alouettes. Guy calling. speaker in the helmet of Johnny Manziel. They're changing this play now. Not a lot of fans here at BMO, but they're loud. 5.5 to go. Manziel hanging in and delivering. Oh, and Ernest Jackson just took a vicious blow from Jeff Knox, who was going to be penalized for this.
Well, and he'll probably be penalized
from the league
his
as
bank
well.
account during the week.
Now, this was a wicked, wicked shot. And a helmet
Major foul.
to helmet.
Unnecessary roughness. Toronto, number 23. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Well, you can knock a guy into next week like that.
Yeah, and I mean, we grew up in an era and played in an era when, quite frankly, you relished hits like that. Yeah. You went looking for hits like that. But the knowledge in terms of concussions, et cetera, being what it is now, and now regulations put into place for player safety, that's a hit that Jeff Knox had an opportunity to lay off and should have.
A hit that has been taken out of the game for now and forever. Pittman up the pipe.
And I say that as a guy who loves the big hit as much as anybody is in terms of part of the game of football, but you can't target that high.
It'll be second down now. Ernest Jackson fortunate to still be in the ball game. It's a violent game. It always has been.
Yeah, and it's a fine line, admittedly. I mean, this is a fierce, physical, aggressive game, and you don't necessarily want to take that out of players. It's not a bad thing for players to have aggressiveness,
and you can still have big hits.
Yeah,
but just clean hits.
Yeah, and you can't be gunning at the opponent's head.
Oh, that hit, plus that catch by Jackson, who's enjoyed a fine outing here tonight. Mike Sherman trying to end a 4-game losing streak. 4 minutes to go here. And a struggle for him in his first year coaching in the Canadian Football League. Frustrating, I'm sure, and disappointing for a guy who coached in the National Football League.
Broad Black fan club in attendance today.
Family. Manziel hands off to Pittman on first down. I want to give a shout out to my hero, my dad. It's his birthday today.
Sir.
Watching back in the Peg. Big CFL fan. Big Dwayne Ford fan. You know that.
Yeah, so happy birthday to Jack Black.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Loved him in School of Rock, by the way.
He was. He's not into the acting as much anymore. Great handle, though. Happy birthday, Pops. Second down and 9. Five receivers for Manziel. Little pump now. And gives it off to Stanback. And Stanback's caught for a loss. And Boris Beatty will come out. Try to increase this lead. 3-minute warning. Not a lot of offense in this second half. Anybody's ball game still.
Coming up, McMahon Stadium in Calgary, part 2 of our doubleheader. Bo Levi Mitchell and the Stampeders coming off a loss last week to BC, taking on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The Stamps trying to, again, clinch first in the West. Let's go back to Rod and Dwayne at BMO in Toronto.
Weekend began with 64 different permutations and possibilities in the West. Mathematical combinations. The East is pretty clear. We know Ottawa or Hamilton are going to finish first. Ottawa has a leg up right now after yesterday, and these two teams are looking to next season. But they're in a close one here, and Boris Beatty looks like he's missed again. That's twice now tonight. Duron Carter thinking about running it out. No, he will not. And Carter will
using up his own time.
Using up the clock, and well, that took out about 20 seconds off the clock, and they need that 20 seconds to give up a point.
Commentator Outdoor Clothing is brought to you by Nobis. This is Nobis.
Well, a 2-point lead is now 3, so a field goal to tie for the Argos. 2-minute offense for James Franklin. Guy was given the starting job, then relinquished it to McLeod Bethel Thompson, who engineered a couple of comeback wins for the Argos and then has recaptured the job and being evaluated down the stretch here with an eye towards the future.
And both these young guys, when I maybe use the term young guys too freely, but relatively new quarterbacks to the Canadian Football League in McLeod Bethel Thompson and James Franklin. Both these guys have shown flashes at times, and I think for Mark Trestman, Jim Popp, and the Toronto Argonauts coaching staff, you know, both have had their opportunities.
No end, Toronto. 5-yard penalty, repeat, second down.
And just looking to see if one of these guys can take the next step to the next level.
Well, the only way to get experience is to get it. And when you get it, if you can be fast-tracked and have talent around you and win, that helps out too. Franklin dishes it out. Brandon Burks is flying like a helicopter. Love in on the hit, so too Tommy Campbell. Third down now, and a key one. 2 minutes to go. Argos have to keep their offense and go for this. It's third and a long yard. They have to get to the 45-yard line.
And Argos currently in shotgun.
In shotgun, it's a yard and a half. But they're going to get it. And Burks, as the seas open up a little bit, Dozier with a tackle. And now lots of time left to put it in field goal position. Or possibly get it to the end zone and win this thing outright.
And a little bit of a slower developing play, but a nice job blocking on that left edge by the tackle. Isaiah Cage pinned Jesse Joseph to the inside.
Franklin again from the pocket. Over the top for Jerome Carter. Spun out, and Jerome Carter now with room. Devon Campbell trying to push him out of bounds, and Jerome Carter has his biggest impact play of this ball game after eating up some valuable seconds in the end zone unwisely. And the Argos are seriously threatening here.
Well, Carter, part of that cluster formation, the lead man in front of S.J. Green. Just working underneath, defense is sitting off at depth. The plan, let them catch the short stuff, come up and make a play underneath, but Jerron Carter doing a nice job after the catch to turn that into a first down.
Tons of time left, floating it out. Armani Edwards bursts forward. Sets up second and short now for the Argos. And field goal might have been the MO to try to tie. But right now the Argos are thinking end zone and a good chance to get the win here. Fourth quarter comeback drive, possibly game winning by James Franklin. Franklin out to Edwards again. Good block there by S.J. Green. Dozier has to make the tackle down to the 15.
Well, nice execution on their version of a bubble screen. S.J. Green serving as the lead blocker. As Armani Edwards runs the swing.
Well, this battle of the number twos, Franklin against Manziel. Played against each other in college. James Franklin looking end zone and jump ball and penalty in goal means this is going to go down to the 1 yard line with 59 to go at the 1 on an interference call.
Well, Greg Reed, the newcomer.
Defensive pass interference. Montreal number 33. Ball will be placed on the 1 yard line. First down, Toronto.
Here's the rub 40, down to the 1 with 59. Might you be tempted, if you're the Alouettes,
give up the points
give
quickly?
up the points quickly. I know it's not that most conventional.
Counterintuitive. You see, obviously, the grab with the left hand on the jersey by Reed so that Green couldn't jump.
But again, this has been a game where ball security hasn't been at its best. So, and an Alouette team that is very good on goal line stance. However, James Franklin is one quarterback sneak away from tying Doug Flutie for the all-time record. In one season, he's got 13. So does Mike Riley in Edmonton. This could be 14. And possibly the win as Franklin goes into the end zone. And he joins Doug Flutie. There's some rare air. Joining a guy like Doug Flutie, a guy who also at times wore that number 2.
Yes, sir.
So the Argos go in front.
And this becomes a very big extra point with just under a minute left on the clock for Johnny Manziel to try and work his magic.
So now it's 25-22. The rookie kicker, Drew Brown, in his second game, hasn't missed anything. Point afters, field goals into his second game. This would mean the Alouettes would have to score a touchdown if he misses. And this is through. A 4-point lead, and the Argos are under a minute away from ending a 7-game drought. So Doug Flutie, you've got company. Mike Riley.
Yes, the man that James Franklin watched put up those numbers in 2017.
There's Kerry Joseph. Riley also had 12 there. And Doug Flutie did it back in 1991. A lot of James Franklins have been right on the doorstep. Not even Anthony Calvillo did that.
AC would have thrown it in. 9 plays, 75 yards in just a minute 25, an efficient drive. James Franklin and the Toronto Argonauts. You know, maybe another check mark for him in terms of that evaluation for next season.
Now they've left time, though. This game is not over. 56 seconds. The Alouettes need a good return. One streak will end today. 7-gamer or a 4-gamer. Steph Logan buries his helmet up near the 42-yard line. So Johnny Manziel and James Franklin met 5 years ago. And that time, it also was a thriller. Texas A&M and Mizzou. And James Franklin got the better of Johnny football on that day.
A pretty good duel head-to-head.
There they were, and now 5 years later, they're in the CFL battling. This one for pride. Manziel looking for his first win, has to step up, takes the pass, and he's brought down rather roughly. But that ate up some valuable ticks of the clock.
And Manziel comes up already into the next play call. Communicating, getting them lined up.
Manziel's 0-5 to start is the longest losing streak for a quarterback since Stefan LaFour's 0-6. Trying to end that as Stanback gets out of bounds and gets a first down, most importantly. 31 seconds. Probably time for 4 plays if you do it right. Might only need 1, though, to get to the end zone. And that was deflected.
Tipped by Troy Davis, but takes an Alouette bounce here at BMO.
Nervous moments for the Argos here. 31 seconds to go. Manziel with protection. Pocket closes again. He's on the roll and he throws it wisely out of bounds. But now that ate up 7 seconds. And now maybe only 2 plays.
The Alouettes had some crossing routes on underneath. But Manziel, you're going to see Manziel forced out to his right. But look at TJ Graham going right to left on the underneath crossing route. That he was in pretty good position with his speed to pick up first down yardage and still have a shot at getting out of bounds.
Smiles on the Argos sideline. Tension on the Alouettes sideline. 4-man rush. Manziel knows he has to stretch this soon. He does over the top, and it's caught! Down to the 35, and it's best to go down to 14 seconds. TJ Graham, Johnny Manziel screams one down to the 35. 21-yard pickup.
Timeout, Montreal.
Montreal takes a timeout. Great play by Manziel. So now 13 seconds, maybe 2 plays, maybe. Maybe one quick out down near the 20 and then take a shot to the end zone.
Well, that's about it for the Montreal Alouettes. But again, as we've watched this drive, what Johnny Manziel needs to be very aware of is you can't really take the time to scramble. At this point,
gotta be quick.
As you say, 13 seconds left. To be able to run 2 plays, you kind of have to be on time with your throw.
It would have to be a quick hitter. George Johnson goes wide out, top of screen. TJ Graham, bottom. Maybe Ernest Jackson here. Let's see. Manziel eating up time now. Pocket closing. And he has to throw it out of bounds. And that was a smart play by Manziel. It's going to come down now. And they're going to call that
illegal grounding.
Illegal grounding, even though it didn't hit the ground, went out of bounds. There was nobody there.
And didn't get it across the line of scrimmage.
So this Hail Mary is going to be longer.
Intentional grounding, Montreal, number 2. 2nd down.
Johnny Manziel adapting to the Canadian Football League rules as well.
And you see decent protection for Manziel, but couldn't find anybody open. He's got to scramble. Again.
Here comes Antonio Pipkin into the game.
Yeah, little bigger arm.
Johnny Manziel goes to the sideline. So Pipkin's going to try to win this for Manziel.
Now, I wasn't watching the Alouette sideline, but I hope Antonio Pipkin's been warming up for the last couple minutes.
Going to send them all out. Here comes the rush. Pipkin's going down. And so do the Montreal Alouettes. The losing streak in Toronto is over. And Johnny Football still has not won in Canada. 7-game losing streak is over. Mercifully for the Argos. First win since August. They pick up their 4th win of the season. They tie the season series with the Alouettes. They will meet again next week in Montreal. This one goes right down to the wire. 2 3-12s who played like 12-3s.
This is their playoffs. These guys competed on both sides to the very end. They're going to line up and do it again next week.
Nissan Titan player of the game is...
Well, we build it as a battle between 2 up-and-comers at the most important position in the game. James Franklin versus Johnny Manziel. Number 2 in double blue. Got the better of his opponent, 277 yards through the air. Ran it in for a couple of touchdowns himself. Strong performance for the University of Missouri grad. James Franklin is tonight's Nissan Titan player of the game.
Shades of 2013, almost the same score, same result, same winning quarterback. James Franklin wins this one. Big game by Enoch Mwamba. Argos finally end a 7-game skid. Owls have lost 5 in a row. They'll meet again next week. 26-22 the final. Good night, everybody, from BMO. Let's send it back to